Hey guys, Mike Lydia9 here, and honestly, I'm really disappointed right now. I planned on this being my first review on my channel, and I was really thinking there was going to be like a really happy review, like I really did enjoy the movie, and that just didn't happen. Today I'm reviewing Wrinkle in Time. It came out just recently, and it was directed by okay, sorry guys. I literally I was going through what I was going to say, and I literally just blanked out on the name of the director. Ava DuVernay. Ava DuVernay was the director of this movie, and so I read the book back in like sixth grade as a regular school book, and I absolutely loved it. And I wanted it to be turned into a movie from that point on because I just loved some of the ideas in it. And I really saw it with kind of this psychedelic look for the second half. Like once it reached the turning point of Act 2, I was kind of expecting at that point it would turn into that. And for part of it, it really did. It fit what I kind of had hoped with some of the visuals and stuff. And I really did like the way that it was directed. I thought that that was very, very good. My issue with it was really just the acting, for one, and the way it was written. Like I said, I really did. I went into this really hoping it was going to be a good movie. I've been waiting since last summer for this movie, thinking it's one of my most anticipated movies of this year. And then it really just did not end up living up to my expectations. It's one of the few times that I've actually gone into a movie and genuinely walked out disappointed. And I hate saying that because it had so much potential, and I was really looking forward to coming out of it and thinking that was one of the best movies that I've seen in a long time. But it just really didn't happen. For the positive sides of it, I have to say I really did enjoy the third act. I thought that the third act was really well done, and it really felt like everything kind of came together in that time. And also the first like two scenes were good too. I thought that the first scene, which was kind of added into the story, was pretty good, and then the second scene was okay too. But then just everything in between those 2 points just kind of fell apart. In the book, they really just jump into the story really quickly, and of course, that's not necessarily possible following the standard format of a movie, so they needed to add in a bit more. But my issue with it was how they did it, I'd say. I feel like they really tried to change the theme of it a lot, and that was really my disappointment with it. They really pushed for a certain theme throughout the entire thing that really wasn't all that prevalent in the original book. And sure, it's a good theme to throw in there, but just the amount of force that they put into it. They introduce, I'm pretty sure she's a completely new character who's a bully, and they kind of have that whole message of be confident with yourself, which, yeah, great message. It's been done 100 times, but still a great message. Just don't force it on us every 2 seconds. And that goes for any theme in a movie. It shouldn't be forced upon you. You should be able to just kind of recognize it in the background. You may come out of the movie learning something new, or you might just come out of the movie having enjoyed it for just a regular movie. In this movie, it really doesn't give you that opportunity. It really just forces that whole message upon you, and you can't avoid it. I really do think that there was a lot of talent among the actual actors and such in this movie, and a lot of them were really good. They really fit the roles well. The issue is when you have a character who's important to the plot of the story, like majorly important, who just does not do a good job of it. And I really felt like Charles Wallace, for those of you who've read the book, it's Meg's younger brother. He really just, I hate saying this, but he just doesn't really find a good position in his acting until it reaches the third act. The third act, he does great. It's just leading up to that, it just kind of doesn't feel real. It feels like he's just kind of saying the lines at some points. And I really hate saying that because he's obviously a really young actor, and I really don't want to say that, but I mean, he had his good parts. He had some really, really good parts. But then the rest of it just didn't do it. On top of that, there were some points where the reactions just weren't quite right, especially from Meg's character. I really felt like there were a few points where it could have been slightly better, but Meg, the person who played Meg, I can't think of her name. Storm Reed, that's her name. She was good throughout the entire movie. Just some parts, just it wasn't quite the right reaction. Aside from that, I thought that it was good. Then we move on to the writing. Some of the writing I really just thought was kind of off. It really didn't feel natural at points. And that was another thing where just if it doesn't feel natural, it just pulls you away from the story a bit. And so that really just bothered me. The third act, once again, written perfectly. I didn't see many issues with it. I mean, there definitely were a few spots where the dialogue could have been better, but it felt really well written for the most part. And so it kind of felt almost like that was the first thing that they wrote, and then they just kind of decided, okay, we need to finish up everything leading up to this, and just kind of, we'll just do whatever for this. It doesn't really matter. And that was really disappointing for me. In the final scene, I'm going to be honest, I kind of did tear up in the final scene, and that wasn't necessarily just because of it being well done. It was more a combination of, if the entire movie had been this well done, then I would have been really, really happy with it. And so, yeah, it was just kind of that issue. Now I'm kind of going to get into a bit of a spoilery section where if you haven't read the book or anything like that, you probably want to stay away. But okay, so here we go. Throughout the movie, it kind of felt like they were forcing more stuff into it that just didn't really fit, and taking out stuff that had been in the original book. There was a section added where it's just this giant tornado right before they get into the town on this planet. And so it's just this random tornado that just comes out of nowhere. And I mean, I kind of like the aspect of it being kind of this weird psychedelic thing where it was like just all kinds of stuff happening all of a sudden. I don't know if that's the right way of phrasing it, but you know, who cares? It was just all this weird stuff happening that you wouldn't normally expect. I liked that aspect of it, but it just didn't really do it in quite the right way. Like there's a certain way that you kind of see stuff whenever you're thinking of Wrinkle in Time. You think of the Tesseract idea where basically you fold a point together and then you're able to just instantly travel across that area. You think of things like that where it's just these weird visual effects, and that's what I really had hoped to see in this. But instead it's just kind of this dark area in the middle of the woods, and slowly everything's kind of falling away. And so that didn't really work that well for me. Then we get to the scene that I was really excited for. This was the #1 scene that I wanted to see from when I read the book in 6th grade. I wanted to see this scene put on the screen because it just seemed so perfect for it. Basically, if you haven't read the book and you still just skipped into the spoilers, it's the scene where these characters they go into this small little neighborhood, and every house has a kid in front of it who's bouncing a ball all in sync. And it's like this really, really creepy idea, honestly. Like, you're looking around, and every house, there's just one kid, bounces the ball, no emotion, just bounces the ball, all in sync. And so it was a really, really good idea. And then it goes to this point where the parents come out and they call their child in. And they all do it in sync. Everyone goes inside at the same time. And then in the book, for those of you who haven't read it, there's one child who's left there. still bouncing the ball out, not really in any pattern. He just kind of drops it at one point, and so his mom rushes out, grabs him, and pulls him back inside like it's this awful thing that's happened. And so at that point, you're confused as to why that happened, because you don't really have all that much information about the it. And so, which actually I think in the book was just referred to as it instead, but they changed it to the it, which was kind of odd. I kind of expected them to just kind of put emphasis on the word it, but that wasn't what they did. I guess it might have been too confusing as far as like in a movie form to just call it that. But in the book, it has this character who you kind of see the panic, and it's kind of this really creepy moment, like what happened to that kid after this point. And in the movie, they chose to just completely remove that. And so the parent, instead of coming outside to get their child to go back in, like really hurrying to get them back in, they just come out, the child walks inside, they look over at the kids and say, "Are you lost?" I feel like they took that scene that could have been really, really good and just kind of ruined it, in my opinion. I don't know. And that was like the scene where I thought, this is going to turn the movie around, this is going to make it better. But it just didn't happen. As I said previously, I was really impressed by the direction of this movie. In the beginning, when they first travel to another location, it's a very vibrant location. Like there's a lot of green and there's a lot of color to it. They go to Camazotz. And at that point in the movie, the format kind of changes. It's a lot more bland. There's a lot more yellow focused. And so it's kind of a bit of a darker tone than the previous just vibrant colors that you see everywhere. And so I really did like that change. And now I'm going to go into a bit more detail about my biggest issue with this movie. I said it previously in the non-spoiler section, but Charles Wallace, as you guys know, he is kind of taken over by it. And so when that happens, he changes. He's not the same kid anymore. And so the actor, it kind of felt like he was just kind of saying it playfully instead, when it's really supposed to be this sinister tone. And he was just kind of saying the lines, it felt like. And he wasn't actually like making it at all weird or anything like that. And that just kind of took away from that section of the movie when he starts appearing like that. It only started to get better when they added in the voiceover of the other voice, supposedly it, talking. That was when it got really good. And so I don't know. The movie, honestly, with just a few changes, could have been so good. And I hate that it wasn't. I really do. I guess I'm going to do like a 1 to 10 rating of it. I guess I'm going to have to give it like a 5. Again, I'm really disappointed that I have to do that. I hate that my first review has to be just putting down this movie, but it just didn't go well for me. Expect more reviews like this in the future. Let me know if there's a movie in particular that you want me to review that's been out before or anything like that, and I'll look into it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching so much. This video is probably going to come out on Sunday, so there's not going to be a video on Monday this week. But yeah, that's basically the plan. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.